Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Guitar Bucket List. I'm Jim Fusco, and right here is my Gibson Les Paul Custom. This one right here is kind of a special one, as if you couldn't tell by just looking at it. This one was a made-to-measure through Gibson's Made-to-Measure program that Thunder Road Guitars did, and I saw this one when it first came out and just fell in love with it. It really just had that it factor. I've always loved the sparkle finish, as if you couldn't tell. And this one right here just had the look. It just, I mean, if you were a Les Paul lover or player, I just can't imagine anyone who is a Les Paul lover not looking at this and just falling in love with it themselves. It just really is the epitome of cool to me, and one of the reasons why I chose, out of all this sea of guitars that I've got going on here, this to be the guitar that I held on my album cover for my latest album, Shades of Inconvenience. This one is actually checking 4 things off the bucket list, which I was very surprised about. I thought at this point we're getting into territory where something's only going to check 1, maybe 2 things off of the list. It checks a lot of other boxes as well for things we've already talked about. For instance, say like the mother of pearl inlays or the ebony fretboard, the Les Paul Custom itself. But for what this actually checks off the bucket list, let's get right down to it. So this one here has the Les Paul Custom headstock. And I can't believe we haven't talked about it before, because some others we've talked about have had that headstock. I think I just didn't realize that that was a separate line item on our list. So to me, this right here is just about the perfect headstock shape. It is kind of a little wider at the bottom here than, say, a Les Paul Standard, which tapers more in towards the center. And then it just, the proportions are right. The size of this particular one in this more modern style is just the way that it should look to me, and I cannot get enough of it. Every time I walk by this guitar, it's one of the first things that I notice. The pearl on this one is really great. It really stands out. The multiply binding, and then that it's maybe a little hard to see, but when you get the profile in and you can see the white binding with the black front and the black back of the headstock, just great all around. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, well, let's flip it back over again. That would be the headstock stinger. Always loved this. Just kind of adds that little difference to it that not all guitars have. Not to mention that my favorite all-time wrestler is Sting, so, you know, come on. But this one here, I've kind of got a little taste of it when my brother got the Jared James Nichols Gold Glory, which is another amazing guitar, and I love that finish, that two-tone gold. And it's just so nice, or color shift gold, however you want to call it. But that one has the stinger. I believe it's a little shorter than this one, but, you know, stinger nonetheless. And then while we're back here, this is another item. That decal right there, or screen print, however you want to put it, that says Gibson Custom. Really wanted that on the back of one of these custom shop guitars. And the reissue ones, which makes sense, don't have it. I remember when I got the super crazy quilt one that we've covered in another episode. That one, I was so excited to have it on the back of the headstock, something that said Gibson Custom. And then it didn't have it because it's a 68 reissue, and in 68 they didn't have Gibson Custom stamped on the back of their headstock. So that was slightly disappointing. I mean, of all weird things to be disappointed about, but this one's got it, so that's great. And then, so that's 3 things. And then the final thing is aged hardware. Now this is actually something that I didn't know that I wanted or needed. And you know, looking back, you know, would I have paid extra for aged hardware? Probably not. But this one, it gives it a different vibe. You know, the guitar is so blingy, just so much sparkle, and everywhere you look, on the front and the back. I actually think the back might look better than the front. I mean, it just shines. But having the dulled and rusted, actually in some spots, I'll try to get some close-ups, rusted pieces that are on this thing really changes it. It kind of makes it look like an older guitar, but also a brand spanking new, shiny new guitar at the same time. Even the tuners are an aged kind of nickel look. And then I complemented that with, I always put Dunlop dual design, strap locks on them, and I got the kind of aged nickel version of those to match. So love that. This one has custom bucker pickups in it, which was another upgrade from a regular Les Paul Custom. If you just were to pick one up off the shelf, they're not going to have custom bucker pickups in it. It's not going to have H hardware. It's not going to have this finish, and it's not going to have the stinger. So a few unique things about this one. And this one was one that I found on Reverb. I had a search that was just for Les Paul Custom Sparkle on there, and it was a feed that would show things, and they were just through the roof expensive, especially some of the newer ones now. Whenever they do a make-to-measure, it seems like they're $8,500 and up for some of these things. And then I saw this one and noticed that it was a fairly reasonable price. And then on top of it, I noticed that it was from someone who lived the next town over. And it's like, oh, well, that's kind of convenient. So I messaged them and we worked something out. So it was a really good opportunity to get something for a much more reasonable price, and something that I just gravitate to all the time. I pick this one up all the time to play it and just love the look. And if I ever find myself playing a more high profile gig than what I usually play, I think I'd probably end up picking something like this to bring out, because who's got something like that? And it really stands out so much. And even though I'm not playing the type of music where I'm doing 15-minute solos in every song, just going on here and being competent at what you're doing and playing the songs well and looking the part at the same time, I think would be a really, really cool look. So this right here is the Gibson Les Paul Custom in this silver sparkle finish that I love so much. And we've got a kind of a little bit of a special tone sample that we're going to do today. I'm going to play some chords to a song that I like, and really big points if anybody knows what the song is and who did it in the comments there. But going to play that, and then going to do some simple solo work over the top of it, so you can kind of hear some of the tones layered a little bit for once. So thank you very much for watching, and let's get to that tone sample.